many names for him, alayhi salatu wasalam, as long as they fit within the model. Now, name, and then move on to something very, very specific. Abdul Muttalib, or Shayba. I think that could be true. You'll find a grandson with a name that you name him with one of those names. That I named him Muhammad. The idea to change his name or call him something else because my name is Muhammad. If you look at these 200 plus names, or Imam Ludhianwi, who collected I think more than 4,000, clearly that most of the names that we have in the books mentioned are they're actual attributes of the Messenger of God that later people adopted. That's important is if Allah Jalla wa Ala named him with those names, then they would be the most important. Ahmad and others as well. There are 5 names altogether. I've written entire modules, course modules with him like this.
Excuse me? Are you okay?
Now those 5, according to the hadith narrated by Imam Muslim, قال النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام إن لي أسماء أنا محمد وأنا أحمد وأنا الماحي الذي يمحو الله بي الكفر وأنا الحاشر ليس بعدي أحد وقد سماه الله سبحانه وتعالى رؤوفا رحيما. So there's 7 altogether if we can include 2 in the Quran. I really want to concentrate on these. The first one, we already covered the name Muhammad, and it seems that it wasn't a famous name amongst the Arabs, and you may have heard talks before, lectures, on how the Messenger of God, only 4 or 5 people before him were ever named Muhammad. It's not a common name. The Arabs as well often don't use adjectives for their names. That's a subcontinent thing. The Arabs often use proper nouns for their names, although there's sometimes derivatives, but they prefer that. Ahmad is a famous name of the Messenger of God alayhi salatu wasalam. It's a Quranic name that Allah gives him, and according to some it's a name in the hereafter that he's called by. It's a name that he's called by, and some say even previous prophets. I want to actually look at وَأَنَا الْمَاهِي الَّذِي يَمْحُ اللَّهُ بِي الْكُفْرَ. That I am the one, mahun in Arabic means to remove something, to erase. That he said alayhi salatu wasalam, I am the one that Allah, through which God removes kufr or erases kufr. And that's something very, very important. Often we forget the message of the message of Tawheed that the Messenger of God brought alayhi salatu wasalam. For most people that attend Mawlids and gatherings that praise the Messenger of God, it's okay. They already have that. But many people have waswasas, and one of the central ideas that the theologians would constantly discuss is how to remove those waswasas. And he alayhi salatu wasalam, this is very, very important. If you attempt to know God by merely reflecting over God's signs, that's good. However, there's a missing piece of that puzzle. And the missing piece is the Messenger of God alayhi salatu wasalam. And often when we try to you could say, build our faith based on constantly looking at signs of God, it builds a certain part of our faith. But connection with the Messenger of God is probably the centrally most important relationship that we require to keep Iman preserved. And you'll often see that people that don't have that background, they'll be really easily swayed by theological arguments against Islam often. But if they're connected to the Messenger of God with hub, he's still here, with love, it's very difficult to take that out. One of the greatest pieces of advice that I received from some of the ulama, especially the ones that were over 60 years of age and had a lot of experience, they said when your kids are growing up, don't talk about hellfire to them. Don't even talk about Jannah to them, just leave those things out. But talk to them from a very young age about the Messenger of God alayhi salatu wasalam. Connect them with the Messenger of God, and once that seed is sown, it's very, very difficult for kufr to enter. It's very, very difficult. Why? Because once that sense of love is built up, sometimes we hear certain narrations, or non-Muslims will, or particular atheists will attack Islam or Christians, saying the Messenger of God was like this or like that. The very love that they have, or that connection with the Messenger of God, won't hadith, and the hadith or the translation is problematic, They just won't make many mistakes. And you'll find many seerah books being introduced to them. It's a complete counter narrative. I mean, on the way here, my son's going to be... I'm not going to open that kind of worms, but those who know and not will know my positions on Islamic clothing or not. It's like, he said, would the Messenger of God be upset if I wore this kind of top? I said, why would he be upset with you? He said, what if I didn't knock the door of the Messenger of God ﷺ, and he opened it and he only had his izar on, his sarong, and his entire chest was bare, and he opened the door and walked outside of the house. And that's how they described the blessed chest of the Messenger of God or his back, by seeing it. So I just remember that point, that children, you have to introduce only the mercy in the Messenger, although he only has mercy, but often people introduce the military side of the Messenger of God to children. So that's got such that kufr is removed. He then said, وَأَنَا الْحَاشِرُ الَّذِي يُحْشَرُ النَّاسُ عَلَى قَدَمَيْ, that I am the one on the Day of Judgment that people will be gathered at my feet. And it's very important, I think, maybe to translate it like that. Although ala qadamay in Arabic just means in front of me, like bayna yadayk they say, but I think it's a more apt translation to say that they will be brought in front of my feet. Now, this is very important for all of us. When we gather together, sometimes we forget our kind of purpose in life. It's really nice to get together and sing and praise the Messenger of God alayhi salatu wasalam. But that doesn't, how can I put it? That doesn't qualify you as one who loves the Messenger of God or me or anybody else. It's really easy to sing, and it's a good thing. Sometimes we assume or may think that the more we sing, the more we love the Messenger of God. Bibkumullah, follow me, and then God will love. هذا محال في الفعال بديع لأن حبك صادق لأتأته إن المحب لمن يحب مطيع. That the poet states that that's ilaha wa anta tudhhir hubbahu. You disobey God, but you show that you love Him, or you say that you love Him. What an odd thing to say. هذا محال في الفعال بديع لأن حبك, if your love were true, you would have obeyed Him. For the one who loves another is oft obedient. And this is very, very important, that this gathering should encourage us to understand the sunnah of the Messenger of God and what the sunnah actually is. You know, sunnah is not clothes and hair and things like that. Sunnah is inculcating prophetic character. Sahih Muslim, I have to get two eyes on him, he's an acrobat. And he says, Ilayya, Ilayya, you know, come to me. And it seems that most commentators just push them away. And they block them from the Messenger of God alayhi salatu wasalam. Some say it's at the Hawd. And he asks why, and they say that they left your way after you. And he says, Suhqan. And anybody knows this word in Arabic is a very strong word. Allah uses it in the Quran as well. Suhqan. And Allah uses it in Surah Al-Mulk, for instance, for people of the hellfire. But in this case, it's suhqan means to basically get away, meaning distance them from me, be forsaken. Now, what's incredible there is that the mercy of the Messenger of God at that point is not shown at all. He actually removes those people from his company. Some of them say later on he returns and he intercedes for them. But it's very important that we don't find ourselves amongst those people. And the underlying factor